So, most people do not like the word accountability. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Goals with accountability rarely get finished. Hey guys, it's DeAnna Busby-Rast here with Authentica Group. And every day I get to work with professionals, executives, leaders, business owners, helping them grow and develop. Today I want to talk about the word accountability and how accountability ties into goals. Before I even do that, I want to tell you a quick story. I had a client come in about a year ago. He sat down with me and he said, I don't do goals. I just make sure that I'm doing my job and I look at metrics to make sure that I'm, checking the boxes and doing the things I need to get done. And I sat back and I said, okay, sounds great. How do you know you were successful at the end of the year? And he goes, well, I'm a salesperson, so all I need is the metrics from a sales standpoint. I said, so as a leader, there's nothing else that you need to do to make sure that you are maximizing your leadership position? Slowly but surely, he came around to setting goals, realizing that how important it was to set a goal and to build actions associated with the goal. So my question is how do you get things done? How do you know where you're headed? I know I talk a lot about clarity. It means a lot to me. When we build goals, we create clarity in where we are headed. And again, this isn't about building a laundry list of goals. It's about building goals that you want to achieve. So let me break it down in my own personal life. So if you've followed me, you know that I believe in the power of reflection. I use reflection at various points throughout the year, but more importantly, when I get to the end of the year, I take a step back and say, all right, what did you have set from a goal standpoint? How did you do against those goals? Yes, growing your business is one of them, but there's other elements that come into goal setting. One of my biggest goals was for me to invest in my own professional development. How am I growing as an executive, as a business owner? I know that my own growth was important for me to be a better coach, a better leader. So I set very specific goals from a professional development standpoint. All of that matters when you are thinking about how you grow as an individual and as a business. So when we think about accountability, it's important to understand how accountability applies to setting goals. When you say to somebody, hey guys, these are the goals that I have set for myself, these are the goals that I have set for the team, and this is how we're going to hold ourselves accountable. When you share that and you make that visible, it's going to put just a little bit more intention behind that goal. Accountability creates that pathway for follow through and follow up. Remember, in a couple episodes earlier, I talked about the power of sales, and somebody had asked me what made me successful in sales. I said follow through was my number one piece or element that made me successful in sales. I also say that when it comes to goal setting. You can't set a goal without having accountability, and accountability allows you to follow through. I also think that there's power in accountability because what happens when you create an accountable environment for yourself and for your team, it creates trust. When you tell somebody, hey, we're going to do this and this is how we're going to hold ourselves accountable, and you actually meet that goal, you have created a trusting environment for yourself and for your team. So what can accountability look like for people, for leaders, for professionals? It means find that person that you can check in with or create that tool that you can look at that makes sure that you're headed in the right direction. You want to make sure you're tracking. You'll hear me talk about it all the time. Metrics tell a story. You need to understand, hey, I have this goal. This goal is that I make 25 calls every Monday for the next 4 weeks. What happened to that goal? Were you able to achieve that goal? Were there any opportunities by holding yourself accountable to making 25 calls every Monday for 4 weeks? See, when you make it measurable, you get something to look at. You get a metric to evaluate. You get to celebrate a success and work on what didn't happen. I know I talk about clarity a lot. You're going to continue to hear me talk about clarity. You're going to hear me talk about accountability. But goals aren't a joke. The word goals are there for a reason. A lot of people set goals, but they have no accountability, and then it just becomes a wish. So here's what I'm going to say. If you want to build an accountability process, if you want to create an accountable organization, if you want to become more accountable to meeting your goals, then you have to sit down and you have to put the work in. What is the goal? What are the actions that I'm going to do in order to meet that goal? What am I going to do to measure whether I'm successful to that goal? And how am I holding myself accountable? People talk all the time about SMART goals. They are specific, they're measurable, they're actionable, they're results oriented, and you can track it. So here's the deal, guys. I'm not saying anything different. I'm just breaking it down a little bit easier for you. Write the goal. What are my actions? How am I measuring it? Remember this, accountability turns a goal into intention. And if you want to be intentional as a leader, as a professional, as a business owner, spend the extra time to write your goals. Thank you so much. If you found that this information resonated with you, then I would ask that you subscribe to the channel. But more importantly, if you found this information could be useful in the hands of someone else, share it with them. Thanks so much. I'll see you on the next one.